In this week's Bleach, Misaki begins to feel the effects from her hollow bite.
Everything sounds like rushing water, and I can't stand up so very good.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my weekly reviews for Bleach's 1000-Year Blood War arc. Today we're looking at the first season finale, which includes Episode 12, Everything But the Rain, June Truth, and Episode 13, The Blade Is Me. Wow, this is gonna be huge. I mean, it's gonna be a big load to handle. Well, hopefully this leaves me feeling satisfied.
That's what she said!
We pick up with Isshin being cleared of his troubles and not mentioning meeting a Quincy. On her way home from school, Misaki bumps into Urahara, who senses something wrong with her. This assumption would be correct as Misaki returns home but collapses, revealing a hollow hole forming in her chest. Ryukin takes her away to find help but runs into Isshin, who wanted to thank Misaki for helping him. Ryukin yells at him, blaming him for Misaki's predicament, but Urahara interrupts the blame game.
Boys, boys, boys.
What the hell's going on here?
He can help save Misaki's life, but can't return her to her old self. She is currently undergoing holification, and to prevent further destruction, she needs to be injected with a substance that can counter the process and maintain balance. For her case, it needs to be something that can stay with her forever. This has to be Isshin, who must enter a Gigai that will make him a Shinigami human hybrid, have his soul bound to Misaki, and in all likelihood have his Shinigami powers stripped away. What will his response be?
No. Okay.
The procedure begins as Isshin enters what I've always assumed is Misaki's soul and rescues her from the hollow with a fiery Getsuka Tensho, making the bond a success. Ryukin leaves Misaki behind and meets up with Katagiri, who all but confesses her feelings for him, promising to continue to devote her life to him after he says he doesn't think he can protect the Quincy heritage. We then get some extra tidbits of Misaki and Isshin living their lives together. Isshin compares Misaki to the sun, and he was just happy to be able to revolve around her.
I love you.
I know.
And thus, Ichigo was born, awakened his Shinigami powers, and with the hollow inside him growing stronger, Isshin's connection was broken and his powers returned after 20 years. The final thing to learn is the real reason Misaki died 9 years ago. She was an expert in defensive Blute Vein, so she could have won handedly against Grand Fisher, but it was on that day that Yuha performed Oswalin. Being the father of all Quincy's, his blood running through all their veins, he was able to take back the power from those he deemed impure, including Uryu's mom, Katagiri. With all this knowledge obtained, Ichigo thanks his father and takes his leave, retrieving his Shinigami combat pass from Miss Ikumi. He then decides he's going back to the Soul Palace. Yeah? You have an Oken in your pocket to pull that off, buddy? He's retrieved by one of Nemaya's assistants and brought back to the Asauchi pit, where every single one of them bows before Ichigo.
Get down on your knees and tell me you love me.
He finds his specific Asauchi, who morphs into what is essentially holified Ichigo. Switching gears back to the Soul Society, we see everyone preparing for the next invasion in their own ways. Hitsugaya with his sword skills, Hisagi with Kensei and Mashiro to strengthen his Bankai, Mayuri in his secret gross ways, Soifon with some mountaintop push-ups, Omaida playing with his sister, and Komamura visits his good boy Grey Elder, who threatens to crush his son if he dares to disrupt the peace his clan has lived within the shadows.
Bring it on!
Ichigo and his Asauchi land in the forging area where he must say goodbye to the Zangetsu he knew and get his true Zanpakuto. It's here we're introduced to all of Nemaya's assistants in the Zanpakuto forging process. Each girl does their part in helping Nemaya prep the necessary materials for fixing and setting the stage to fix his Zanpakuto.
Oh my god!
9 years later, that still creeps me right the fuck out. Nemaya explains to Ichigo that the Asauchi turned white because it is the hollow that is in fact his Zanpakuto. Old man Zangetsu has been an imposter, pretending to be his Zanpakuto when in actuality he is a manifestation of his Quincy powers in the form of Yuha from 1,000 years ago. Retreating into his inner world, Ichigo admits that he felt drawn to Yuha the day he fought him, and he reminded him of someone he knew. Old man Zangetsu reminds Ichigo it was always the hollow who helped him with his Shinigami training training, and he actually wanted to stop him from becoming one. His heart ached at the thought of Ichigo having to fight, and possibly killing him, but eventually he learned to support Ichigo's choice, and now he feels joy in standing aside. But Ichigo says neither the old man or Hollow lied to him, recalling the times both were there to save his life. With this revelation of both being Zangetsu, Ichigo retrieves his new Zanpakuto. Ichigo will no longer ask them for help, to stay out of the way, or fight them. He will fight on his own, as they are both him. To leave us on a cliffhanger, Haschwalth returns to Yuha with their newest recruit, Uryu Ishida.
Dun 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 dun.
My overall thoughts on what I'm dubbing the hybrid season finale? Fantastic all around. The season definitely needed to end with the focus of Ichigo coming into his own after the struggles he's been facing since the destruction of Soul Society. I've always liked the Everything But the Rain arc because it answers the lingering questions we've had about the Kurosakis, the powers, and Oroharu's connection to all of them. Ishin was a captain, but he could never help because his powers were gone, but once the Hollow connection was severed, he regained it all. Masaki was a powerful Quincy, but Yuha was a dick and took her powers for himself, leading to her death in battle against Grand Fisher. I also think the fact that Ichigo's Hollow traits manifested in his Shinigami side, but were derived from his hollified Quincy mother is a neat twist. Ichigo's existence was the perfect storm, his overwhelming amount of powers making sense now, not necessarily feeling like ass-pull abilities when it was the plan from the start. We now recognize the subtle hints of foreshadowing that were laid out in the series come together in the conversation Ichigo has with Zangetsu. The Zanpakuto training with the Hollow, who was always helping him out in deadly situations and even said, "I am Zangetsu," long ago. Old man Zangetsu was using Quincy shadows, Blute Vein, and his own blood to save Ichigo's life. You could argue that Old Man Zangetsu's resemblance to Yuha is potentially a type of retcon, but it works without being outlandish. What worked really well in these two episodes were the emotional tones. I love the extra bits we got of Ishin and Masaki being together, fully aware of their situation, but falling in love regardless. Him mentioning that she was like the sun and he was just happy to revolve around her was hard-hitting and beautiful. Not goofy like they did in the manga. Speaking of which, no Masaki boobs for you. And seeing the scene of Masaki being killed by Grand Fisher while trying to protect a frightened Ichigo was devastatingly sad. Her powers being stolen at the wrong place at the wrong time. Kinda makes her wanna slice Yuha in two. Then there's the conversation between Ichigo and Zangetsu, and both voice actors did an amazing job in selling this huge moment. You can hear the sense of betrayal Ichigo feels at the start and Old Man Zangetsu's calmness, but then the shift to understanding and pride hits you in the feels. With everything out on the table for Ichigo, he can finally grow into a powerfully confident Shinigami, with sick-ass dual-wield Zangetsus. Animation, art, and music continued to kill it for me. No surprise here, but I had to mention it because with this being the season finale, it needs to be known that both excelled tremendously. I like the creative choices they made for Masaki's inner soul with that awesome hollow mask and the pink shade in Ichigo's inner world. Gotta make note of the new rendition of number 1 being used perfectly in Ichigo's reveal of the dual-wield Zangetsu, making the moment even more hype. Overall, I love these episodes, and they capped off a thrilling return for one of my favorite anime series. But let me know what you guys thought, not just about today's episodes, but this first season as a whole. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and follow my Twitter and Instagram. Links to those can be found in the description. I've had an amazing time reliving this arc and getting to talk about it as a better editor, not recording off a cell phone. Hopefully, I'll see you all in 2023. Until then, peace.